tears to fill out their ballots. Thank you, timer 1. Freddi, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Freddi Doctorum. A handful of tears. A handful of tears, Freddi Doctorum.
Have you ever thought about the power of water? We need it to live, and it can form mighty rivers and carve mountains. It can be peaceful on the shore of a beautiful lake or ocean. It is powerful in that it can restructure our world. But the most powerful water of all is the power of a single drop. A single drop of water expressed in a tear. May 7th, 2000 was the best day of my life. I was in the hospital waiting room waiting for my first grandchild to be born. The 4 grandparents were there, Jesse and Frank, the other grandparents, and myself and my husband, who had never held a baby in his life. He was a stepdad, and he'd never had his own children, but he was just excited as the rest of us. Well, we waited, and finally the magic moment came. My son peeked around the corner and said, "Hey guys, come and meet your new grandson." Well, you can imagine the excitement. We ran down the hall and walked in, and we met this precious, precious child. And we got to take turns holding him. I got to hold him, then over to Frank, over to Jesse, and back to me. We did this about 100 times. You see, Frank and Jesse, they had 12 other grandchildren, so they were well experienced. For me, this was number 1. And for my husband, this was number 1. And so we offered him, "Glenn, do you want to hold the baby?" "Oh, no. I don't do babies. I might break them. I've never held one." So we passed him around some more, just like a little hot potato. Jesse to Frank to me. Well, Frank, being a bit of a jokester, said, "Here, Glenn, hold the baby," and passed him off to my husband. Well, the good news was that there was a chair right behind him, because as he grabbed the bundle, he took one step back and literally collapsed into the chair. And as he's holding this precious bundle, the tears start to flow down his face. He was so in love with this baby. And the baby, laying there tiny in Grandpa's arms, was only 22 inches long, whereas Grandpa is 6'7", and threw him to his knees. You know, the baby wiggled, and one little hand came out, and one of Grandpa's tears fell into that hand. And as the tiny fingers closed around it, we knew that this baby had Grandpa's heart in that handful of tears. Well, he was number one. He was our first grandson, and we loved spending time with him. We spent all the time that we could. We'd go for walks, we'd go for hikes, we would cook together. And he's the one that taught me how to ride a bicycle. Oh, we had such a wonderful relationship. When I needed to go on a road trip, who do you think I would ask? Well, number one, of course, because we loved spending time together. When he was 10, I had to take a road trip out to visit my dad in British Columbia. He was at the end of his life and the family was gathering together. We were going to have a last wonderful family celebration. So who did I ask to go with me? Number one, of course. Oh my gosh, what a trip it was. Imagine this, 8-hour road trip over the mountains, through the tunnels, down to the other side, with a brand new car and a 10-year-old. We had to try out every feature of the car. Electric windows, up, down, up, down, up, down, sunroof, back and forth and back and forth. And the satellite radio, all 322 channels, we had to play them all. And we seemed to get stuck on the All Elvis All the Time channel. Oh, man. But we arrived and it was absolutely wonderful. It was a beautiful weekend, full of family and memories and love. We told stories. We hugged. We cried. And as I hugged my dad and he hugged me back, we both had tears coming down our face. And number one reached out his little hand and he gathered one of those teardrops into his hand and said, Nanny, I have the handful of tears. You're going to love Grandpa forever. Oh, it was wonderful. That was the visit where my dad got to tell the family legends and stories to his first great-grandchild. We had a lovely time. And we said goodbye, and number one and I traveled back home. The following weekend, my son went out to say goodbye to his grandpa. And in the nursing home, my son was holding Grandpa's hand, and they were able to share some beautiful memories. My dad was known as kind of a reckless driver, and so they got to tell wonderful stories about the driving and share memories of camping and working on the farm, and it was a beautiful visit. And as they were saying goodbye, down his grandpa's cheeks came some tears. And my son reached out and gathered the tears and said, Grandpa, I have a handful of your tears. I'm going to love you forever. Water's a powerful, powerful thing. Water can move mountains. It can carve channels in the desert. But there is no more powerful water than a drop expressed as a tear and held in a hand. With that handful of tears, I'm going to love you forever. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Freddi. We will have 1 minute of silence for the judges to fill out their ballots.